What's up? Warm welcome to this video. It is warming up down here in the valley. It's been in the upper 50s, got up to 70 a couple days ago, and I've been jonesing to take a trip to the mountains. We're gonna make our way up to Mount Cont. I haven't been up to Mount Cont in many years, so this will be exciting, and I'm taking a couple trails that I've never done before. I've been up there via Alum Cave in the past, so this time I'm going to go up Rainbow Falls, and then I'm going to come back down Trillium Gap. So we will we'll see how it goes. Come along for the ride. I'm sure it's going to be beautiful. I'm sure it's going to be frosty. It's supposed to be in the low 20s tonight with a wind chill of around 16 to 18, I think. So it's cold up there. I've got some pretty decent DOMs going on from some workouts that I did earlier in the week, so I'm hoping that doesn't slow me down too much. I'm hoping this will work some of it out, but we'll see. So come along for the journey. So in the Smoky Mountains National Park, you now have to have parking tags. You can buy them daily, weekly, annually, but gotta put those on the dash. All right, here we go. Rainbow Falls. It's about 49 degrees, and I don't like sweating, so I'm starting in my t-shirt. I think it's about 7 miles to the Mount Cont shelter. I'm gonna stay there tonight, and it's gonna be beautiful. Lord Jesus, for this beautiful day. Thank you, God, for this beautiful weather. Thank you for this beautiful mountain that you made, these beautiful streams. I ask for safety on this journey. I ask, Lord, that you meet me here in your spirit. Teach me your ways. Amen. So it's February, and we've had a fair amount of cooler weather here lately. We had a decent amount of snow, and now it's warmed up. Oh, it's melted away down here. I doubt it will be at the top. Shouldn't see any bears. Highly unlikely this time of year. Sometimes they do come out in the warmer weather, come out of hibernation, but most likely, bears don't fully hibernate in this part of the country like they do in colder regions. So they do come out sometimes. I have seen them in the winter, but they don't usually bother you. Just trying to find a little something to eat. So I was just looking at the map, and the trail takes a sharp turn back up the ridge and turns away from the creek. And I believe this may be the last place for me to get water until I get to the top of the mountain, so we're gonna fill up. I don't like to carry a ton of water when I'm hiking up the mountain. Got 2,000 or 3,000 feet of elevation gain here, I believe, so I'm just going to fill up this one bottle and try to make that last me until I get closer to camp. Now the trail is starting to climb. Glad I stopped and got some water. Oh, it feels so awesome out here in the sun. It's not cold. I got a little bit of a sweat going, but not too bad. I always wear a moisture wicking base layer like this dry wick shirt. Definitely moisture wicking underdrawers because it's gonna get cold tonight. I do have backup shirt and underwear, so I will change out of these. Have something dry to wear to bed. Possibly TMI, but never know, maybe it'll help you if you ever do something like this. Or maybe you do stuff like this all the time. But this is good for the soul, good for the body, good for the mind. It's beautiful. You meet people out here on the trail and they're like, "You're spending the night out here? It's gonna be freezing cold." Yeah, it will be. But you know, I kind of like coming out here this time of year. You don't get as sticky and hot on your hike. And then you get nice and cool. You get cozy on your insulated pad and 0-degree bag, bundled up. Actually can sleep pretty decently. You know, people do this in Alaska. This is Tennessee. It's really not that harsh a winter. People used to live out here in these mountains, and they had cattle up on top of these bald livestock. They hardly ever came down because they had everything they needed to survive. Fresh spring water. And I think people have gotten used to all modern day amenities. We forget that God created us to survive the elements, use our wits, and make the best of our resources. It's good to know how to do those things. That's why I like coming out here. I'm not growing my own crops or doing anything. Sometimes I fish and hunt a little, eat the wild game, but when you come in the Smoky Mountains, you can't really do that. So you bring your food with you, and you enjoy the nature. You enjoy the journey. And it teaches you more about your own endurance. It teaches you about pushing through when something's a little difficult. It's beautiful. I did this with a buddy on. Where was that? We were on Mount Mitchell in January, and it was beautiful. Had been a lot of snow, a big layer of ice and snow over everything. And we hiked up there, found a place to camp, made some coffee. We took several hours to get a fire built because everything was frozen to the ground. And you can go up to these little fir trees like this here. See the limbs at the bottom? They're dead, but they're up off the ground, so they're dry. If you can find those, you can get you some fire starter. Once you get a good enough coal bed, you can start adding bigger pieces that have moisture in them. They'll start to dry out and burn. It was one of the best fires I've ever had. But things like that teach you to do something that you haven't done before. To be innovative. And it's good skills, good memories. There where you could filter water, and this is one where it's very shallow, so I love bringing the Grail because I think it's the best filter as far as pure drinking water, good tasting water. But my Katadyn could easily filter water out of that little stream. Don't need much reservoir. Whereas with my Grail, I would have to build a little pond, essentially, to capture some water. And here's another one. This would be perfect. You could just dunk your Grail in that little hole right there. Get plenty of water. But if you came across a stream like that and it was your only source of water for miles, then the Grail may not be the best fit for that situation. You could carry some tin foil. Sometimes people make a little funnel. If you can get it kind of on the edge of a hill enough to have a drop, then you could hold it over your Grail and filter that way. But who knows? You do what you want to do. I've noticed there's a lot of places like this where the trail is quite mucky, and that means there's been a lot of runoff. This is just a mudslide. So I originally was thinking maybe go around this. Most of the snow had melted off. We'll see what it's like at the top of the mountain. There still could be some up there. There's been a lot of melt off. There's a lot of mud. There's some ice crystals coming up out of the ground. So whenever I checked on the mountain forecast, I believe the freezing point at elevation was around 4,500 feet. I could be wrong on that, but it was somewhere around there. And you can see in the ground here, we're already getting close to that areas where we're not thawing out completely. And the Cont shelter is a little over 6,000 feet. So it's gonna be cold up there tonight. As you can see, these trails are well traveled, very nicely groomed, and really easy to walk on. You go out in the big South Fork, when you're on like horse trails and little small footpaths that haven't been bushwhacked in who knows how long, can get a little more challenging. These are nice, wide open trails you can enjoy with your family, and it's beautiful up here. Absolutely beautiful. Got a trail counter. So we got some ice. Getting higher up. First bit of unmelted snow right here. So we're still not that high. Got some unthawed ice. I didn't bring crampons. We'll see how dicey things get as we go higher. Those icicles. All of these rocks have a little thin layer of ice frozen on them, so I don't want to get too close, but I want to show you that.
I always thought it was really neat when the little droplets of water freeze all over the structures around the waterfall.
Last thing I need is wet boots. falls. What a beauty. It's a beauty. It's a beauty falls. Watch out. All the mist from the waterfall is frozen down here. Makes things a bit slippery. So one of the things that I love about the Smokies, like this Mountain Cont hike, is there's not that many places in Tennessee where you have a significant elevation. And so there's not a ton of hikes where you have elevation change, where you start to see changes in the forest and the landscape significantly like this. So as you start down in the forest, you're in thick hardwoods, lots of streams, ravines, hollers. But then as you climb higher, the thick hardwood and pine trees start to thin out. You start to get more smaller trees, you get some birch, you get different species of evergreens that you don't see growing down in the bottoms as much. And you start to see this tundra grass. You start to see a lot more mountain laurel. Looks like a blueberry bush. There's no blueberries right now though. And then you start to get stuff like this. Look at that. Oh yeah. Look at this. So there was a fire up here years ago. And that's why a lot of these trees are dead. You see this one here is charred. So that was unfortunate there. The forest is still recovering. t-shirt. You come around the corner, get on the shady side of the mountain over here. You feel the temperature difference for sure. Temperature has definitely dropped some from below. It's starting to get cooler up here. If I stopped for a significant amount of time, I would definitely put on a long sleeve shirt. But I'm still feeling good. The chill is a bit nice on my skin. I'm staying drier. My back is still sweaty. I don't have the greatest vent on this backpack, so that backpack makes my back sweat. But that's why I wear a dry wick shirt. It dries out quickly and you don't feel cold and wet. We're making headway, getting on up the mountain. Starting to feel like I'm getting up high. Lots of icicles up here. Yeah. It's coming off. So there's been a fair amount of ice the further I've gone up, where there's been runoff and then refreezes. Some areas that are, the trail's pretty covered, but decently easily worked around. Definitely don't need crampons. It would be more hassle to take on and off than just finding a way around the ice. When my buddy and I went to Mount Mitchell in January that time, we had a crossing like this where there was, I guess it was a stream, maybe it was just runoff. It kept refreezing, whoo, sliding around. And it kept getting bigger and bigger as it froze. And it started to look like almost like a giant ball spilling over the side of the ridge. And the trail was quite narrow. And basically there was a little ice ledge that you had to shimmy on with your hands on this ice ball. And there weren't many roots or stuff to grab onto. And I remember thinking, if we slide off of this, we're going straight down like a 40-foot cliff, basically. But there was no other way around it in that particular spot. And we got past. In hindsight, probably wasn't the best idea, but we were already way up the mountain. We were committed, so we just did it. We didn't have crampons. We met some other guys the next day that they were all decked out in winter gear. They had their camelbacks insulated. They were wearing crampons. They laughed at us because we didn't have any of that stuff. Just a bunch of frozen water bottles and 35-year-old backpacks that our dads let us borrow. But it was good memories. My buddy fell so many times on that trip because we were just walking on ice and snow almost the whole time. It wasn't like this where you had mostly decent open trail, just layers of snow and ice, and we just kept sliding and busting it, but it was fun. So I've only passed 3 people since I passed Rainbow Falls, and the last couple I just passed, the guy had a bloody busted knee. He's wearing a long sleeve shirt, but he's wearing shorts, and you gotta be careful on this ice. So if you're hiking a trail like this and it's a lot of back and forth between ice and then regular trail, instead of trying to shimmy along the ice, it's much easier to try to find a way to go around it. And if you can't go around it, then at least shoot for places where rocks are sticking through, something that you can get traction on. Because if you're just standing on that ice, you're gonna slide into steep grade up here. Earlier I was standing on a slab of ice and I started sliding sideways towards the edge of the ridge where it dropped off. I just grabbed this little sapling. It was like a spruce tree, and stopped myself, got my footing, and got on the edge of the trail where I could step more on rocks and small branches and roots. But now my hand smells like that spruce tree sap, and I love that smell. It smells so good. I did not see this Becky Spur overlook on the map. Trail doesn't look as well kept, but it is open. I have no idea how far it is. We're gonna go up here a ways and see if we can find it. This is really wanting it bad. Oh. Whew. Can't see nothing. This is a bushwhack. I hope Becky Spur is pretty. bit concerning because this Becky spur just keeps going and going, and I came around the head, the peak of the ridge. There's some decent views, but it wasn't amazing. Typically spur trails are dead ends, so I'm thinking this might not come back into Rainbow Falls Trail. We're gonna find out because we're going back down, and I really don't want to go all the way back around the other way. If we don't go back into my trail, then we have a dilemma. We have to come back the way we came. Assuming this is gonna end up back into Rainbow Falls. All right, here we go. On this side, it's called Rocky Spur. Oh, I guess it's Rocky Spur Overlook. I thought it said Becky Spur. Well, it would be nice if you were Becky, have a spur named after you. But yeah, there's the main trail, so it just makes a loop, goes to the top, and some decent little views up there. I would make the cut up there. If it's in the summertime, it might be a bit thick because it was tight and most of the underbrush is currently dead, so might be a little more of a bushwhack in the summer with more bugs. Alright, this is the Bullhead Trail. This is where Rainbow Falls meets up. This is also, I think, Alum Cave comes in on this trail at some point. But we will continue to Mount LeConte. This last section's had a lot more snow and ice. And I was making my way along this edge right here, and I got right here, and I was going to step out and use these trees to shimmy up this way, and that ice right there is clear. Didn't see it, so I stepped right there, slipped, smashed my ribs into this little tree sticking up right here, and I went all the way down. Didn't hurt anything badly, but just an example of got to be careful up here. Smashed my ribs into the ground pretty good, so got to watch your step. All right, point 1 to LeConte Lodge. We're almost to the top of the mountain. There's the cabins at LeConte Lodge. So this is where the restrooms are. There's privies over there. This is the off season, so there's probably not anybody up here. There might be somebody, but you can't rent the cabins in the wintertime. But there's a service where you can come up here and stay in one of these cabins. They provide you meals, and a lot of people say it's quite nice. I think there's quite a reservation wait to actually be able to get into them, because a lot of people like to do this. But if you come up here in February, you'll be the only person on the mountain, and you can stay by yourself. So the shelters are just back that way. This is saying that the Mount LeConte shelter I'm going to stay tonight is 0.2. Fertile Point's 0.7. It says there's water this way. Let's see. This is Trillium Gap Trailhead. Bubbles? Yoo-hoo! Anybody home? Alright. Welcome to the Mount Cont shelter. There's a nice tarp for you here to break the wind, but unfortunately the old fireplace has been blocked up, apparently due to unacceptable resource damage from past campfire use. That's a shame. Alright. I'm getting kind of cold up here. My hands are really the coldest. So, I'm gonna put this on, get my jacket. I read online that the water source is on the Trillium Gap trail. So, I think it's down the trail a ways. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get a snack, get my jacket on, go down to Trillium Gap, filter some water, and maybe go over to Cliff Tops and make some tea. I'm gonna leave my pack here on the bear chains, and maybe we'll get a sunset. Alright, so this is Trillium Gap, and that's where the Cont Lodge is up there, and right here is your spring water. So this is, I don't know, maybe 0.3 miles from the shelter. It's not that far, but this is where you can get fresh spring water. I know the shelter carries potable water during regular season, but this is where you're getting your water in February. Some tea, get warm, enjoy the last little bit of this daylight. Unfortunately, I didn't really plan any elaborate meals or anything. I kind of decided to do this last night. Last minute, said, hey, I'm going to Mount Cont. Look at this. Doesn't matter that I'm eating meat sticks. No, almonds. Because this is awesome. I may not have brought enough food. I'm starving. Not really. But it's gonna be good. Look at that sunset. Praise the Lord. Beautiful creation. Cheers to His beautiful creation. The great outdoors. Doing things that you love. So this is the Helix pad from REI. As you can see, it is a dimpled air mattress, and don't waste your money on anything but a dimpled pad. So this one has medium insulation, and for these temperatures it's fine, but I find the dimpled pads to be so much more comfortable. So don't buy the stripped ones, or I don't know, they just don't sleep the same. The pressure points are different. This is my Crestone 0 degree bag from Hike and Bike, and it's gonna be toasty warm. LMNT electrolytes makes warm versions. This is chocolate chai, and it is so good for my soul right now. Feels good to have on fresh socks, fresh underwear, and some long johns, fresh shirt when you start getting ready to get in bed here. Whenever I travel, I like to save these little toothpaste that you get because they're so small. You can take them backpacking like this and get your teeth brushed. Alright, I've got myself ready for bed. Got everything out of my backpack that I need. I'm going to hang up this backpack here so that my food is up and away from where I'm sleeping. This is where the bear cables are. There's 2 sets here. There's a set over there and a set over here. There she blows. The stars up here are awesome. Alright, I'm gonna go to bed here. I got my camping pillow blown up, and I'm gonna put my grill in the pack here with me so that I don't have frozen water or frozen filter in the morning, and hopefully I'll get a good night's sleep. My phone battery has been really low because of the cold weather, so hopefully I can still get some video tomorrow on the trip out. We'll see. Y'all have a good night. I'll see you in the morning. Good morning. I made it through the night up here. It's almost 7 o'clock. And I really gotta pee. So I think I'm gonna try to get up here and get going. There's definitely some rodents that live around here. None of them got close to me, but I definitely kept hearing them through the night. So there's that. Rested okay. I definitely have a decent bruise on my side where I fell. It's pretty achy. Ugh. But starting to get light, so I'm gonna get going here. My camelback is almost completely frozen, so I'm gonna heat up some water from my grail that I kept in the sleeping bag so that I can thaw this out. I got some delicious pre-cooked turkey bacon, which is frozen in my backpack from last night, and I got a little bit of instant Starbucks coffee. We're gonna get that in. We're gonna get on the trail. Say goodbye to the Mountain Cont shelter. We're on our way to Trillium Gap. We're gonna get a little bit more water down here at the spring. I tried to thaw out the ice in my camelback, and I thawed out everything in the bag, but I couldn't get it into the tubing. So without that insulated sleeve on your camelback, you can't really use it while you're hiking. I felt like I got a little dehydrated yesterday. I didn't drink much through the day, and I should have had my camelback setup where I could stay hydrated, but I'm excited about some beautiful views. I hope my phone battery stays charged enough, and we'll have a good trip down the mountain. I'm going to show you, these are the cabins up here that you can rent. So there's the main lodge right down there. That's where you can get food and stay in these little cabins. Trillium Gap is the trail that they used to bring supplies up to Cont Lodge. The first time I came up here, I remember seeing all of the llamas lined up behind the lodge with their packs on, carrying the supplies up. It's actually pretty neat. That would be a cool job. I was like, oh, what do you do for work? Well, I'm the guy that, ice, carries supplies up and down the mountain for Cont Lodge with a pack of llamas. So anyways, that's how they get the supplies up here. They come up Trillium Gap and bring all the food and things they need for cooking and maintaining the lodge up here. Tell you what, this section right here is slightly treacherous, but it's very nice that there is a cable running right here, so you can get up close to the wall and hang on to that. Slide your feet along the ice. I see why they call it Brushy Mountain. So I believe we came down from up there. So this is Brushy Mountain Overlook. The sign said it was 0.2 miles up here. I think the map says 0.4. Definitely feels more like 0.4. So this is really thick. The trail just seems to keep going. And I don't want to get too far off course because I've still got a long ways to get back. So I'm gonna go back to this overlook here and offload this jacket. So this is a nice overlook up here on Brushy Mountain. I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna have another cup of coffee. So I'm perking some water here and enjoying this beautiful view. I've still got about I think 5.6 miles back to the car, and Grotto Falls is in there, so hopefully I'll have enough battery to get some video of that and finish out this beautiful hike. Just had to show this. I found this little instant coffee in our tea stuff at home, and we got this in Thailand years back. Somehow it's hung around, so I'm gonna do this in memory of our days in Thailand and enjoy this cup of coffee and this beautiful view. Alright, this is where Trillium Gap makes a turn. So this is Trillium Gap from coming up the mountain. That's going towards Mount Cont, and that's Brushy Mountain Trail coming from that way. We're going down here. Watch out for the llama droppings. Ooh. I say made it. Polar plunge, anybody? Any takers? No? Me neither. Starting to get back down to warmer areas in the sun with a lot more mud. All right, 2.3 miles to Rainbow Falls Trailhead. That's where we started. So we're almost done. These deer are clearly used to people. All right, we'll see you. Bet. Alright, just past the sign. Looks like I'm down to the last mile, so almost there. Here we are, the final descent. All right, I made it back. 17 miles round trip. That is the Mount Cont shelter in February. Going Rainbow Falls Trail and then coming down Trillium Gap. It was a lot of fun. It was absolutely beautiful. A little bit icy in some places, but nothing that you can't deal with. I highly recommend it. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see more videos like this, let me know in the comments. Please like and subscribe to my channel, and we'll be around for more adventures.